a load of this guy.
Should I be doing all this weird stuff?
Hello.
So I'm Martin Vernon, I'm from the Scottish Borders. I'm doing agricultural engineering, currently on a bachelor's, but I'm hoping to go on to a master's.
I'm Percy, I'm from Cornwall and I'm on mechanical engineering.
My name's Sean Morris, I'm 21 and I'm on the automotive engineering course and I'm from North Wales, Carnarvon, North Wales.
I'm Roy McElhenney, I'm 21 and I'm from Derry, Ireland, and I'm a 4th year off-highway automotive engineer.
Right, I'm Tom Shepperton, I'm from East Riding of Yorkshire at the little known town of Bridlington. I'm 19 and came to Harper Adams in 2023.
Hi, I'm Luke, I'm from Kent, I'm studying agricultural engineering and I'm 18, first year.
I'm Adam Westerby, I'm originally from Sheffield and I'm the co-driver of Rallying the Wright Way.
I'm James Witherington, I'm from Cheshire, I'm 19 years old and I'm on the mech engineering course.
I'm Archie McLean, I'm 20 years of age and I'm an automotive off-highway engineer on my placement year.
I'm Elliot, I am 19, I'm from St Andrews in Scotland.
Charlie Wright, I'm from Aylesbury and I am the driver and, I guess, team principal of Rallying the Wright Way.
I have varied. I've worked on the front left and both sides of the rear of the car. Most recently in the season just gone by, I was more focused on the front left of the car, but as and when was needed, I'm quite flexible in what's needed of me.
I've mostly been on the back end and helping with refuel and that when we've been self-refueling, but recently I've been moved on to the front end, a bit more responsibility and there's a lot more to do, but it's making me learn more and it's good fun.
I'm mainly on the back end of the car and then sort of shuffled around watching other people do the front and, you know, just trying to learn things.
Through this season, it's changed quite a bit. I started working at the back of the car and changed to working at the front for a couple of rallies. And then at some rallies I was just doing both back wheels, sometimes I was just doing the back left.
So currently I work on the front left or as pole ring number 1. So going into the next season I'm hoping to be the number 1.
I'm mainly logistics, service part management, general fixer really.
Position of the team, usually I'm set on a rear corner of the car. However, this recent Cambrian Rally I was in the front right of the car, which is a new position for me.
I'm second mechanic and I do the rear right.
I'm the co-driver of Rallying the Wright Way. I think it all started when my dad used to take me to the motor club that he was in when I was about knee high, and then from there, once you've been, you can't get rid of it.
Well, over the past summer I've been doing a bit of marshalling with Targa rallies, a couple of bits and pieces like that, and I came back to uni and thought, why not?
One day I was just brought to a rally and given tools, and that was a long time ago.
Got into rallying with my mum and grandfather, and my dad used to take me down to watch the Gym Clock Rally, which goes past the house, and there's a few loops near to the house as well, so we would go and watch as many stages as we could.
Rallying's always been like a big thing back home and everyone and their dad seems to have an Escort in the garage, so ever since I was young I've been watching Targas and night rallies.
Mainly Rallying the Wright Way that actually got me into rallying.
I've always had an interest in rallying. There's one close to Yorkshire, it's the Dolby Forest Rally, and I went there a couple of times. And then heard that Harper Adams had one and eventually worked my way around to joining.
I've always been interested in rallying, heard some stuff about Group B and I found about Rallying the Wright Way. It was one of the open days and it seemed amazing to get into, and I want to get into motorsport and this seemed perfect.
So I've always been into motorsport when I was younger, but I always thought it was something for them, not for me. Got kind of sidetracked myself with racing mountain bikes for a little bit, and then when I was at uni, got into rallying through a student-led rally team, and now here I am running one. Ever since then, I've kind of been competing by myself, so yeah, which has grown into this program now, kind of giving something back to the students that run it at Harper Adams, like I got out of it.
I think the first ever event I went to personally was probably a track road rally auction about 2005, and then from then on I think I've lost count of how many I've been to now.
I was already had an interest in rallying, and then in my first year Charlie Wright sent out an email to everyone asking if you were interested, and I jumped at the opportunity to get my hands on the R2 and gain some experience.
Can I say both?
Definitely gravel. I like getting my hands dirty.
Gravel. I mean, I'm a gravel boy through and through, definitely.
Irish tarmac for me.
So I'm going to have to say gravel.
Irish tarmac. Gravel's better to watch, tarmac's better for servicing, because the mud and gravel just gets everywhere and it just gets in your way.
Gravel's more fun, I think, to drive, but that's sort of what makes tarmac more rewarding when you get it right.
I think probably the most common answer from anyone that sits in a car is, well, especially in my seat, is both. I think any time you can be in a rally car is just a mega experience. The feel of the speed on a loose surface is something not many people get to experience, and something that you can't really describe to many people. It's you have to experience it to feel it.
Like the car's moving around, it's just, yeah, way more fun.
Everyone knows what it's like driving on tarmac, so I think that's where you get your real reference to how hard and far these cars can be pushed and are being pushed by any driver.
There is nothing more rewarding than getting the braking point just right on tarmac when you're flat out.
The first highlight of the year was getting to go rallying in general with such a good group of students and support staff. Just being able to do that is obviously a privilege and a highlight for anyone.
Yeah, so 2024 kicked off pretty abruptly with the Autosport show at the NEC. That was the middle of January. Again, that prep for that was pretty hectic, rebuilding the car after the accident at Ulster last year.
One of my favourite things was building the car for Autosport. Come the end of last season, we had a big crash, and we were in a tough time schedule to get it ready for Autosport. And so coming to back to Harper early to work at Autosport and to finish the car off, that was very good fun, and really enjoyed that.
The team got it done. There was more than a few very late nights over the Christmas break to get the car back together and get all the other prep done for the show. We made it, and it was very successful. We did, I think we impacted really well, putting Harper Adams on the map as a university that does rallying again.
I think for me, the funniest moment of the year was getting everyone together before even the season had started. It was a bit of a team bonding experience, and when we went karting, and everyone, definitely when you turn up as car crew, you've got a target on your back, and everyone had a point to prove to try and overtake us or push us off the track at some points, but it was all in good fun, and yeah, it was great to see how much of a laugh everyone was having before the action had even started for going rallying.
All of a sudden we were at M Sport doing Ryan's dissertation testing, and again those 6 weeks were filled with making the engine work, tweaking all the little bits on the car to make it run right again. And then we actually doubled that week up with the Malcolm Wilson. So we did Ryan's testing on tarmac around M Sport's test track, then re-prepped the car to gravel, fitted new seats and belts that week, and then did the Malcolm Wilson rally that weekend of Rich driving, Rich Millener and Gail as his co-driver.
We had a 5th year's dissertation on the R2 and different handling aspects of it, which involved a great camaraderie from the team, with quick 5 to 10 minute services of changing different aspects of the car, such as the camber of the front wheels to tyre pressures and tyre heats that the tyres went out at, which was really interesting and really exciting to do, as I was able to look at the data with Ryan over his shoulder, which was a really interesting aspect. And also it gave us an opportunity to work at such a great facility as such that M Sport Limited have here.
which went really well. Rich got a class win. He was really impressed with the team. I think his quote was, "It was hard to imagine that I was in a team being run by student engineers rather than actual rally professionals," which, like, I think for everyone was really nice to hear. So that was a win-win.
It was good to have professionals driving our car, because as we were working on the car, it also meant that we had other people from larger teams that were standing and watching us, and from that we didn't really notice because we were concentrating on working on the car in the service time. But once we'd finished the service, there was a good amount of people that were watching us from professional backgrounds and that were saying we're doing very well.
We started our competitive calendar with a Dukeries rally. That was, again, really good just to get back in the car after so long out, the car being in pieces. It was a nice confidence builder, wet tarmac. We were on for a really good result until we blew up an intercooler, but that was a kind of ongoing technical issue we were having at the time. So yeah, that was great. April, we did the Severn Valley Rally Nut stages, which was our first round of our original competitive programme, which is the British Championship on gravel. Really wet, really slippy. Didn't last long for us, made a terrible tyre choice and ended up in a ditch.
You alright?
Most tense moment, that would be at Rally Nuts, when unfortunately we got a phone call saying we've had a bump and we're out of the rally, and the car's going to need a bit of work to get it fixed. So that was quite scary because we didn't know what condition the car was in and whether Charlie and Adam were all right, but fortunately we got out there and all smiles all round, but the car needed quite a bit of work to get it back out for Jim Clark.
Rally Nuts was a really good experience because it really highlighted to me how much we've come on as a team, as we were there to support Charlie and Adam in a moment of a tough time, shall we say. And the team and the way we had a quick and efficient recovery as best as we could, and even left some of the recovery boys very impressed with how we handled ourselves.
One of my favourite points was after Rally Nuts we had a severe crash and the car and the engine had ended up running upside down. So after that we pulled the engine out of the car and Archie and I ripped it all to bits and cleaned it all and put it all back together and did a full rebuild on the engine, and we did that in just under a day.
The next 6 to 8 weeks before the Jim Clark condensed very quickly when it became car strip, shell shop, engine rebuild, and then back together.
In the a bigger workshop achievement and highlight would be the rebuild post Rally Nuts after we unfortunately ended up on our roof. The effort and teamwork and just general spirit and morale to get that car through and rebuilt before Jim Clark, and then it to run pretty much faultlessly on the Jim Clark. I don't think you could ask for a better effort from anyone. Everyone pulled together there and really put a team effort in to get us where we are.
Student exam week, which the Jim Clark was, which you know, if you know anything about students and exams and rallying, that's a scheduling nightmare, but it's something we can't avoid, and that's what the programme's about. But yeah, so that was hectic, and I think for the team that was probably the biggest relief ever, just to get that finish and to prove that the car worked and we can do it and we can drive again.
Jim Clark started off in a Hanlon, but I think it started off in a Hanlon for every team because the service park turned to a literal swamp. Like, they couldn't get the M Sport lorry out, it had to sit until it dried up. So the team handled not knowing where the service park was very well. I was still at work, I was on placement, so I was coming across the country, getting random phone calls, updates and that there. So they handled that very well. It was very stressful from what I understand. We then had a very late evening service, but there was no real issues. We did that well. And it was a very late night. I think it was 1 or 2 before we got back to accommodation. And that was the first real late night that any of the guys had at a rally. And then we got up really early, you know, rally and stuff. But it was the first rally where we really introduced a number one rule, as in number one that floated around the car. I had Chris, last year's number one, did or this season's number one, did very, very well in that role. He took that step back. It was hard for him because he likes to be on the tools and doing a job and doing it right, but he really embraced that managing people aspect of it. And that really started the progression of the team to become more like a professional team in the way of having a number one, and a number two mechanics, not just 3 or 4 lads spanning on a car. There was an actual structure to the team, a reporting order, a pecking order, and that really set us off for a good year.
So on a rally you do reconnaissance passes, which allow driver and co-driver to pass through each stage twice. These are held at a lot lower speed than we'll be going on the rally, just to give you the best opportunity to look at the road, develop your pace notes. Sometimes on tarmac rallies we find it easier to use organisers' pace notes rewritten into my style and then edit throughout. And on gravel rallies we've found that it's a much easier process due to the nature of the roads to write our pace notes from scratch. And that's something that's developed throughout this year and the previous years of just working out what works for us. You wouldn't think that a corner can be called so many different ways, but depending on the surface, the straight before it, the straight after it, it really does vary. So it's good just to get through, look at each stages twice, see what Charlie wants to hear, and then make sure that I can read it back to the point that he can hear. So when we're doing 80, 90 miles an hour with trees either side of us, we got full trust that I'm saying the right thing and he knows where he's going. On a personal sort of side within the car crew, I think we've had a large learning curve of just doing so many rallies that take on a recce before, and just the different techniques that I as a co-driver can do to prepare well for the recce and make life a bit easier for me and Charlie when we're having the long days sat next to each other, just me reading endless pages of pace notes to him, just to give that freshness and the ability to keep focused on every stage as though it's the first one we're going through in the day.
To the Sweet Lamb time trial in June to get a bit of gravel experience.
My first event with the team was Sweet Lamb Groom's Garage, which we did as a bit of a shakedown / test day. That was great fun in the rain in mid Wales.
I did the Sweet Lamb Rally. It's more of a time trial, so that went all right. I was in the rear left corner. I can remember it was very, very muddy time trial. Well, in my eyes it went okay, not much went wrong.
Before every event that we try to, before every event, go on what's called a pre-event test. So a couple of times this year, Sweet Lamb was meant to be a pre-event test for the Grampian. It wasn't just a good opportunity for me and Adam to get a bit more seat time back in the car on gravel, as we'd had minimal at that point, but it was also a good opportunity to get new members of the team onto a muddy hot car and out of the workshop and get them to see what a real event's at without the full consequences of a proper rally. Sweet Lamb was quite kind in that manner. There wasn't any road section at all. It was longer services, so it meant that everyone could kind of get used to servicing in a little bit more of a relaxed environment.
As much as Cambrian was cool, I think for me a bit of a childhood sort of sensation was fulfilled getting to go through Sweet Lamb Bowl and the Sweet Lamb time trial, just experience the water splash followed by the jump and the hairpin. I think that's something that for years I've watched, and for this year I finally got to be in a car and experience it, so that's definitely one of my favourite events.
Most tense moment for me was when I was at Sweet Lamb and I was looking at all the cars coming back in, and we had number 25. And I saw number 24 come in, and I saw number 26 come in, and 27 up to 29, and I went, oh God, where's the car? Luckily it turned out the intercooler just blew and he was cooling it down, but I had fully thought he had crashed, and I was expecting a call saying we had a bump and we're out the time trial, but luckily it was just an intercooler.
Another highlight for me is just the way that the lads have come together in some I think, tricky weather situations, which we experienced at the Sweetland time trial, which was our first event back on gravel since our unfortunate rollover and rally nuts, and the way that the team just swapped the car back from tarmac to gravel spec, and then on the day the car ran without fault mainly. There was one intercooler problem where the team just cracked on. They knew, you could tell it was practiced and rehearsed like a professional team would be. They just saw no problem in just jumping straight into an intercooler change. We got that done with plenty of time for the car to be checked over fully as well. So I think that's credit to their development and professional attitude.
Rally Ceredigion pre-event test, although that was probably, well, it's definitely not the wettest we've been as a team, but wettest we've been this year. It was awful conditions, but it meant that we got a lot of time in the car in super wet conditions, and also it meant that, again, we had a new member of the team who got to learn. We actually changed the clutch on that test, so that was very much in the deep end. They got to learn how to do that and go through that, and yeah, it was a brilliant opportunity for people to learn under less pressure, I think. So it's a really important part of our programme.
Another testing time was when we were testing for Ceredigion. We unfortunately had a clutch go, which is common enough fault in motorsport that you have to deal with it as it happens, and the lads that were out there with us then just didn't bat an eyelid, just cracked on, knew what they were doing, asked the right questions if they were unsure, which I think is quite a credit to them, that the understanding has matured enough to ask questions even if they think they know the answer, just to double check. It just shows that they're developing into a really good professional unit ready for the wider motorsport or engineering environment.
I went to Rally Ceredigion, which I think probably, if you ask a lot of the other team, and including myself, was a highlight of the year, to do a full international rally in Wales. You know, not on our doorstep, but only 2 hours away. That was brilliant. 3 days of some of the best roads that I've ever driven, and I think any other competitor agreed, some of the best roads I've ever seen as well. Just some of them had no business being tarmacked so well, really, in the middle of nowhere. And then we got a solid result there again, a nice finish. Big thanks to the team on that one. We went slightly off the road a little bit, and they made sure the car was straight again in the next service, which was, you know, proved their capability as much as ours.
The Ceredigion was really interesting because you could see the ERC teams, which is something personally I'd never seen before, because I come from little amateur rallies and stuff. So watching the big boys go for it was really interesting, and as well watching the night stage in Ceredigion itself. SS1, SS2, that was great. And watching the Puma come through and do its showcase laps, really enjoyed that. But it was quite a long rally, but I think the team did really well, and we managed to get through it without any major hiccups or anything.
And the most tense time this year was Rally Ceredigion stage 2. We had a little trip into a ditch after hitting a patch of water, and we knew that we could get out, but we were running out of time, and we were struggling for manpower, and every second you could hear another car approaching. I thought it was the course closing car, and was thinking that was our day done, and we'd have to trudge back to the service park with damp feet and a car that we couldn't get out of a ditch. But thankfully we just kept going, kept pushing, and instead of the zero car coming around the corner, some more fans came out and we got out, and then it was quite tense heading to the finish line, getting our time, and then realising that we'd already started to eat into our lateness, so had to make a hasty return to service, and we managed to get booked into service with 30 seconds left of our 15 minutes lateness, so I think that one got the heart racing more than most.
In the world of rally, it's basically all or nothing for the mechanics, because you might have 3 services in a day where there's just 20 minutes of all-out chaos, and the rest of it you're kind of twiddling your thumbs a little bit. So I think everyone between services were trying to either catch up on sleep, catch up on food. A copious amount of tea was drunk, as well as chatting to other teams, so the boys with the escorts next door. But it was a really friendly atmosphere in the service park, and everybody kind of just got along. But then when the cars came in, it was action stations, and everyone kind of just jumped to it and got to their jobs.
Rally Caradigan was a great experience because we actually got out to see the R2 coming past, and seeing Charlie and Adam come past was quite exciting to see all of our many hours and our labour of love come past at full chat, which was very exciting.
Team's perspective, there's a lot of awe and wonder with it because there were so many cars, 2 different service parks, national and international, and walking around seeing the ERC boys kicking about, it was really good. But God, it was a long rally. It was a very long rally. We arrived, we got our tracker, told us we had to be in time for this tracker. We got there, rushed up, got it, and then they turned around and told us service park's not opening for another day. So that was a handling. We killed time, we got there, and long days again, long days. But I had made the decision that I was going to bring cooking equipment to the event, to the actual service park. So we cooked in the service park, and I think that made guys a bit happier, having food ready, not having to eat at 9-10 o'clock at night when we got back. So that really brought the morale up a wee bit. But it was a long event, but the guys seeing a different side to non-national rallies, because BRC doesn't have EAP anymore. So being able to see the European guys come across and see how they work, and all the Motorsport Ireland guys and everything, they loved it. And that really showed us what we could be, even if it was towards the tail end of the year. So hopefully, fingers crossed, a lot of guys have that in their heads, ready to go for next year.
To complete such a high prestige event with the team that we did, and all run by the uni students, coordinated, is a great achievement for, I think, most big teams, never mind a part-time student team that have put everything together to get us there, run us successfully through the weekend, and everyone had a smile on their face throughout. Just to compete on a 3-day rally, it's a hard challenge, especially with 2 days of recce before that, but such a rewarding one to go through and see such scenery, roads, and to experience it with someone like Charlie has just been mega. Without sounding too different, it's a lot darker at night, but there's always a bit more anticipation when you're going into a night stage. I think just everything's feels a bit faster at night. I don't know whether it's just the lights reflect more, or whether everything just seems a bit brighter in the car because of the map lights that I have to have. Everything feels just that little bit more sped up and intense. But I think equally, as that speed, the enjoyment increases as well. It's just a different feeling at night. In the daytime, you know it's cool. At night time, you feel it's cool.
So the build-up to an event for me personally probably looks quite different to a lot of the people. Obviously, it starts with about 3 to 4 months before the event. We put the event entry in, make sure that's all sorted, paid for, ensuring that everyone in the team's got everything they need to do their job role. So make sure that Rory's on top of booking logistics, etc., ensuring that James and or Ryan at several points through the year know what they're doing with tyres and fuel, and they've got everything they need to plan that side of stuff, and making sure that effectively all the bits are bought so the guys can prep the car properly. That goes down to like making sure we've got enough fluids from our sponsor Ravenol, or to making sure that Yokohama are giving the guys enough tyres, or making sure we've got parts ready to fit to the car to do all the re-prep tasks, and then also making sure that Sean, the number 1 mechanic, or Chris previously, was happy with the jobs list, and was communicating out to the rest of the team so it would get done. And then about 2 weeks before the event, the focus kind of switches for me and Adam, to make sure that the notes are critical, that they're the most critical part, make sure they're right.
Rally normally starts a bit earlier than most people. I've got to, when the regs come out, that's the first thing I do is read them. I've got to know what's going on, and that's maybe final regs month and a half, hopefully. But sometimes it's a bit earlier than that. And it starts booking accommodation, getting trailers and that sorted, when and what's going on. So for that, it starts early. Then it's pack up, get going, make sure all the parts are there, get the last minute stuff together, and then manage the service parts a lot of times. Like the last rally we were at, the Cambrian, I had to disappear to get parts, and it's just a lot of fixing, a lot of small problems, not a lot of relaxing throughout it. But services don't do much during a service, which is a plus.
So it's different between every rally, whether we're swapping from tarmac to gravel, gravel to tarmac, and if there's anything broken, needs fixed, if anything needs changed on the car, like the livery or anything, we've just got to get it all set up for whatever rally we're doing following on. It's Charlie and Adam's safety that we're looking after with building this car, so everything has to be 100% with it.
A couple of days before the event, we leave earlier than the rest of the team to go write the pace notes to recce. So we drive around the whole course of the rally beforehand, writing our pace notes out. We do 2 loops of every stage, and then Adam goes away, makes sure they're written up clean so that he can read those clearly. And then we go through the notes again with the in-car camera from the reconnaissance car. Between events, I have a lot of time watching videos and writing endless, what looks like scribbles and code down, but reading through them and just watching onboard videos to try and work out what's the best techniques to use. Sometimes, not all the time, we can watch them 2 or 3 times before an event, but we definitely try and watch the videos at least once to prepare, just to get a feeling for where the road's going. You're not going to remember every corner, but if you can remember certain junctions or things like that, it's just a good prep there. And then otherwise, the other ongoing thing between events, for me personally, is to keep fit and healthy, really. Also making sure my pencils are sharp and my rubbers are clean. That's always a good one. Thought we were going to the Cambrian Rally in August, but then some politics appeared and meant that we weren't eligible to do it, unfortunately. So we sort of switched it up. We did the Hillsford stages in September instead. We quite nicely halved our seeding, so we were seeded 111th and finished 56th or 57th overall, which was quite nice again. Brilliant little event, 1 day, really compact, very demanding schedule, just tight times, short services. So yeah, really rewarding and again, relatively local. A wider learning experience for the team and myself is just to get used to each other. We've had new members come in at different points of the year, and I think just a big learning curve is how we adapt to each individual member, because everyone's that bit different. Everyone's got that bit of different knowledge, background, so learning just to take on board what people are saying and never write anything off until you've listened fully to the idea. Another test before the Cambrian Rally at the end of the year that was organised by guys at MSL Motorsport. It was a really well run test. Again, we had 3 new members, freshers this year, that came to experience what it's like when the car's muddy and hot before, again, the pressure of an event. So that, yeah, brilliant opportunity for them to learn those kind of things. And because sometimes you go to a rally and it's all really hectic and you do half an hour's work and then you're like, oh right, I don't know, what did I do right, what did I do wrong, it's all been too hectic. Whereas on a test environment, everything's a little bit slower and a little bit more relaxed, less pressure. So they learn quite a lot more. And to be fair, they get more time on the car as well. There's more opportunity to service and get to know what's going on. Unlike some rallies, you only get 1 service in a day's rallying, so yeah, really important. Back to the British Championship on the Cambrian Rally just the other week in the end of October. Again, we got a class win, really nice to be back on gravel, getting the feeling back in the car again. Taking a few new freshers that have just started this year at Harper, which was really nice to see guys integrate into the team, that we've built an environment that welcomes them. So from a personal point of view, that's really nice to see that they're happy to jump in and they instantly love it, and they're hooked on coming back again, which is the most important bit, I think.
Definitely watching the stages was absolutely amazing, but everything that we did, it was so good. Enjoyed all of it.
Highlight of the year was probably the entirety of the Cambrian Rally. Like I say, it was the first proper rally I've done. We only had one service, which was quite a long service, but I had my corner of the car to do. I helped out with the other corner, and those other bits and bobs that need to be doing. I say, fully enjoyed every aspect of it, like every moment. Fully enjoyed it, don't regret it at all.
Finally, the class win, I think, has shown not only the students' development to run a car, but I think one unsung hero of the whole team's Charlie. He brings the team together. He does the workshop sessions, the late nights, and then deals with the stress of driving. And throughout the year, he's on his own journey to improve not only his personal management skills, but also to improve as a driver. And I think that really showed with a very characterful drive through some very, very challenging stages on Cambrian, where we managed to grab first in class, which as always is a brilliant way to round out any season.
I can't wait to come back to Rallying the Right Way. I've really missed being part of a team, and the diversity and where we go each and other weekend really excites me. And with a potential role of being an engine engineer also has room for a very large interest.
I'm looking forward to going to all the events. I've only seen gravel, so I'd like to see tarmac as well.
Next year I'm looking forward to working on the car and mainly the engine, working whether it be the engine needing a refresh or the engine needing a rebuild.
I think next season, after having such a solid season this year, I think we've really got a good platform to develop what we've learnt this year, hopefully increase the pace a lot and be challenging for a title. I think that's the main aim of everyone. I think the final round success that we had at Cambrian this year has only increased everyone's hunger and desire to go out and get more of those trophies, and hopefully a big one at the end of the year.
I think the biggest learning point for me this year has probably been realising that I need to be a little less on top of everything and let people learn and grow within their roles, not expecting necessarily that they're going to jump on and do everything great the first time. I know you asked for a learning point, but it's been a big learning through the year, just being able to make sure that everyone has the tools to then achieve something, and then they will eventually work it out by themselves. They don't need to be kind of micromanaged and told. And I think that's shown really well through sort of what Elliot and Archie have learnt going to M Sport, and I've given them, we as a team have given them the tools to do what they need to do and learn about competition engines and competition engine building, and then engineering. And they've taken that and combined with a passion. They're now working there at M Sport doing what they're passionate about, and it's worked really well. And that was purely through just having to trust them at a certain point that they can do it without my input and involvement. I think that's the biggest learning. And actually, it pays you back in dividends when the students are actually really capable and they can do stuff. And you ask and say, "Is that done? Has that been ticked off? Whatever." And they give you the run sheet, and you're like, "Yeah, that looks good. That's done." Or the logistics plan is done, and you didn't have to have an involvement with it, but you know that you were involved, but you weren't on top of them, but they still got it done. So I think that's probably my biggest learning. Highlights of this year have been, like we said, quite a lot, but I think the beginning and the end of the year, scoring a class win on the Malcolm Wilson with Rich driving, that was a great way to start the year, and finish the year on the Cambrian Rally with a class win for myself and Adam was really nice to round off a year that's been quite tough. Like I said previously about rebuilding the car twice and going from those low points back to a high point and sort of proving to everyone that we can do it. And then on a sort of non-competitive side, the highlight for me has been getting 3 students a placement that they wanted, that they get a lot out of the job, and that they're passionate about in motorsport, I think, because that's 50% of what it's about for me, is getting these guys inspired and into a job role that really rewards them, they're passionate about. And finally, thank you very much to all our very valued sponsors. So M Sport at the top, who obviously provide the car and a lot of technical support. We definitely couldn't do it without them. Laser Lamps, who contribute quite nicely to our competitive budget. Yokohama tyres that provide brilliant tyres to keep us rallying. Again, we couldn't do it without them. Hills Ford, who provide hire vans for the team and very kindly let the students drive. That's a massive part of the experience of the team, is these guys having the responsibility to take on tasks like that. You know, they're not mollycoddled at all, they're treated like genuine professionals, and Hills Ford see that. So thank you very much to them for that. Ravenol UK support us providing lubricants and all the fluids for our programme, which again is another critical component. Kielder Works team support us with tools and equipment in the service area. Again, they have a brilliant range of power tools and hand tools, and they've provided us with boxes that are custom cut out, so it's really easy for the students to see what they're doing with all the tools, make sure that nothing goes missing, and all of our equipment stays where it should be. Next up, we've got ATL Fuel Cells, who provided the fuel cell in the car, which is again a really important bit to keep the car homologated and within spec. So they provide that. And then Cosworth, who provided equipment to do Ryan's dissertation this year, and some software to teach the students how to use professional grade motorsport engineer software. Thank you very much to HCI Systems as well for coming on board to support with all our electrical issues and last minute concerns around wiring, and also supporting the rebuild of the main harness, the chassis, a couple of times, so that's really appreciated. And then finally, GWR Fasteners, who provide all of our fasteners and small components for our programme each year. They do a fantastic job, and they stock a massive range of cap head bolts, rivets, screws, pins, even things like drill bits, and our wonderful teamwear that we got, so go check them out. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely loved it, yeah.
Well, that's strange. Whatever it says on the whiteboard.